I'm going to tell you a story about what happened to my daughter 2 nights ago at a very good hospital. Baylor University and Baylor Hospital is a very good hospital. We give money to research at Baylor Hospital. We respect the people at Baylor. We have. I was there when she delivered. Her doctor is unbelievable. The anesthesiologist was unbelievable. The nurses were unbelievable. Start to finish, everybody is unbelievable. The facility is great. The care is great. And then there's one nurse. And here's the problem. You can have a great institution, but if you're only good as the weakest link in your chain. And if you have one bad nurse, that person goes and they tell 10 friends. And then all of a sudden, you get a bad name. Unfortunately, if your bad nurse happens to treat somebody who has 10 million friends and not 10 friends, it makes it much worse. I want to make this very clear. Baylor is a great hospital. Every single person we have run into has been, from the person at the front door to the person at the cafeteria, everyone has been great except this one nurse. And I'm telling you this story, A, because I want to make sure that the doctor who lodged the complaint was heard clearly by the hospital, and that this nurse finds herself in another industry because, God forbid, somebody else's daughter is treated like this. And I'm telling you, if your daughter was treated like this, or your wife was treated like this, you would go crazy. You'd go crazy. So let me try to save somebody else's daughter or somebody else's wife from being treated the way my daughter was. It was the night nurse. Everybody's great. Now, I don't know if you've spent any time in a hospital at night. Luckily, her husband was there. But nighttime is scary. And I've never had a child before. Moms are freaking out on their first child. They're freaking out. My daughter, when she was having delivery, and I said to her, I said, honey, I didn't say anything to you, but I know what you were feeling, but I didn't say anything to you because I knew I couldn't, what am I going to say? Don't worry. I've peed a telephone pole before. It's not so bad. What am I going to say to you? And, but she was so afraid because, can you imagine? I mean, here we all are guys. You always hear how horrible giving the pain of delivery is. Can you imagine what it's like just before you go into delivery? When that starts, you've got to be terrified. So she was really terrified. But they were so great to her, and everything went well. Then it's time at night to try to feed the baby. Now, I was there with Tanya when she tried to feed the children, and I know what it is like for a woman when she first tries to feed the baby. The body isn't working yet, and it hurts. It's uncomfortable. It's emotionally difficult for them. And they immediately think, something's wrong with me. Why isn't it working? Why won't the baby take my nipple? I mean, it's horrifying, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody who has had a child knows how traumatic it is for a mom. The night nurse comes in, and she's immediately cold and callous, and this isn't going to work, and this is going to hurt, but you're just going to have to get through it. Okay. Tim, my daughter's husband, who is a remarkable man. My gosh, is he a remarkable man. She is so lucky, and I am so lucky to have him as somebody who married my daughter. But he tries to, make things better because he sees his wife starting to crater. And he says, listen, how can I help when we get home? How do we store her milk, and would it be okay if I got a little refrigerator and put it by the bed, or because I want to feed at night? And the nurse looked at him and said, you can't help. And he said, what? You can't help. She's got to do it. Well, no, I've got a lot of friends who, have done this before. I'm just asking you, you can't help. Look, how old are you two? And he says, his age and her age, and they're in their 20s. And immediately, society doesn't approve of young people getting married. And how long have you been married? Well, we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary. Oh, so this wasn't a planned pregnancy. Excuse me? So this wasn't a planned pregnancy? Excuse me? Oh, but then she has some advice for them. Look, don't shake the baby or you're going to end up on the news. I'm sorry, do my children look like baby shakers? Do my children look like white trash? Tim, I know, wanted to rip this woman's head off as my wife, or as my daughter is, cratering. He's just silent, doesn't say anything because he does not want to escalate this because he's trying to care for his wife. So my daughter is having her first breastfeeding experience with, I don't know, somebody who lost their heart on something. I don't know. And everybody has a bad day, but you don't do that job and have a bad day. You don't do that job. The sad part about all of this is I'm not sure that woman will lose her job. I'm not sure if that woman has seniority. I don't know if that woman is part of a union. I don't know if you can treat somebody the way this nurse treated my daughter and my son. Judgmental, callous, in that condition. I don't know if anybody even does anything. I know the doctor came in the next morning, and they were still quite upset. And my daughter has a great OBGYN that delivers at Baylor. And she started telling the story, and the doctor went nuts and said, wait, tell me the story again? Her eyes crossed and said, that's not what? Was she wearing a Baylor tag? Because that's not the way the nurses are at Baylor. She left, lodged a complaint. I don't know what the hospital...